Well, it's 7:01. We can get the meeting started. Yes, Paul?
Yes, we're ready. I'm going to start recording.
Right. I would ask you, and I see the Norton Media Center is on as well, to do what's required. I would ask at the outset for participants to mute their microphones. I believe it's a box down in the lower left of your screen. I'm Tom Noel. I'm the chairman of the Town of Norton Zoning Board of Appeals. Due to the COVID-19 outbreak, I'm going to call the meeting to order, but we are participating and doing this meeting remotely, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12 order, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meetings Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15 order imposing limitation on the number of people who may gather in one place. The meeting of this zoning board is being conducted via remote participation because no in-person attendance of members has been permitted. Members of the public who wish to listen, watch, or participate can do so in the manner on our posted agenda.
Video.
Wishing to speak during the meeting may do so by way of the methods that we posted on the agenda as well. And the people on this screen are all attending by Zoom, either by video and audio or by audio means only. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access these proceedings in real time via technology. I would ask at this time again, anybody who is not speaking at the moment to please mute their microphones. Otherwise, it gets to be a little hectic. Paul DiGiuseppe, obviously, and myself will have our microphones open, as will the other members when they want to speak. Just for attendance, Mr. Tenore, are you in attendance?
I am.
Thank you. Mr. Bouley, are you in attendance?
I am.
Is Mr. Wrenn in attendance at the moment?
Actually, I just showed up, Tom.
Oh, there you are.
It was the same meeting.
Same thing, yeah.
Okay, David, thank you. So all members are present. We're just going to get started. The first item is the application of 133, relating to 133 South Worcester Street. The applicant owner is the Roman Catholic Bishop of Fall River. Mr. Costa, I see that you are here to present, correct?
That's right, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And is there a motion to take this from the table for further proceedings tonight?
I'll make the motion to take the motion from the table.
Thank you, Mr. Wrenn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Tenore. We have to do roll call votes in these meetings. Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Tenore, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Mr. Bouley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Costa, I understand that you did appear before the planning board as this COVID-19 situation was just getting started. Can you bring us up to date as to what occurred and then what it is that you're asking the zoning board to do still on this application now?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well.
So yes, we filed a petition with the planning board to approve this plan that we've also submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And that was an approval not required submittal, meaning that this plan that we have before the zoning board, which was also submitted to the planning board, shows two lots that both have the required frontage on a public way, that being South Worcester Street. And so the planning board endorsed the plan. So it's been approved by the planning board, and we're back before this board for the continued hearing on our petition for the necessary variances to create the two lots as shown on the plan as buildable lots for single-family homes.
And the square footages of those two lots, and I'm sorry, somehow not sure how you there I am. I don't know how that happened. Go ahead, Mr. Costa.
So lot 1 is shown on the plan. I could put this up on the screen if you'd like.
Sure.
It may help. So this is the variance plan. So lot 1 has 29,664 square feet of lot area, and lot 2 has 20,496 square feet of lot area. And now this property is in an R40 zoning district, and so the variance that we're requesting is from the lot area requirement. We're not requesting any other variances. So in other words, these lots have at least the minimum frontage. The existing building on lot 1 meets all of the setback requirements, and a single-family home couldn't be built on lot 2 in compliance with all setback requirements. So it's simply a request for variances from lot area.
I'm not sure if town council was there, Mr. Costa, at the planning board meeting, which was a couple of months ago now. But we have an opinion from town council that this is not within our jurisdiction to grant a variance based on lot size. Based on a couple of cases, General Law, Chapter 48, Section 10, and then McCabe v. Zoning Board of Appeals, 10 Mass App Court 934. Schaefer versus Zoning Board, 24 Mass App Court 966. Have you addressed those issues with town council at the planning board or at any time?
Those issues weren't presented at the planning board because we didn't have a petition for variances there, and we clearly met the standard for the planning board approval. So that wasn't part of the discussion at the planning board, and their endorsement does not confirm zoning compliance. So I'm familiar with council's position. I can address it here if you'd like me to, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I think I would. First, let me ask the members, could you, you can keep that up on the screen, that's fine. Members, did you have any other way to frame that question to Mr. Costa?
I guess my only question is, so that the second lot it's going to be an undersized lot, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And I know after reading town council's email to us, it's a self-generated variance that by your subdivision, you're creating the need for the variance. And her response to that was, we shouldn't grant it based on those cases in that law. But I wanted to be clear that by subdividing this lot, we are making it an undersized lot.
In fact, I think you're making them both undersized lots.
Correct.
2 undersized lots, and that was council's second basis in her advisory to us, Mr. Costa, but you could take them, certainly one at a time, explain why this is or should be an exception. Were there other ways to frame this, though, from other members first? Okay, so Mr. Costa, go ahead.
So I think an important consideration here is that, especially with zoning, it's hard to state that there's an inflexible rule that would apply across the board to every single parcel of land. So
this meeting is being recorded.
I'm familiar with the cases that say that lack of area by itself is not a justification for a variance. But I would submit that this property that we have before us is unique, and that the reason for the variance isn't only that there's not enough lot area to divide the parcel into two. So I think it's important to consider the history of this lot and how it's been used to date and what the future intended use of it is, and also in practical terms what its existing shape is. So presently this is considered a parsonage. It's a rectory. It's exempt from zoning and as a use. And so historically it's been used as a rectory. In the center of the lot is where the building is. And then the area where lot 2 was always used as a parking lot. The reason for the parking lot no longer exists because the church across the street has been taken down. And so when the parish intends to build a new rectory at the location of the present church and parish center on Power Street, and so when it moves forward to do that, this parcel will lose that use exemption, and it'll just be considered a single-family home. It'll be added back to the tax rolls. Right now, it's a tax-exempt property. And realistically, it's always had this sort of unique character as having this fence up the middle with the parking lot on one side and the rectory on the other. So in terms of its use, it's kind of at a unique crossroad, if you will. In terms of its actual shape, I submit that it does meet the unique shape standard of Mass General laws. And if I may, I'd like to share another map of the neighborhood so the board can see. I presented this the last time, but it's been a while. So if I may, I'd like to put up another piece, although I'm trying to find it here on my screen.
If you're able to, you're better at this than we are, but so,
Yeah.
or than I am anyway.
Well, I can't say I'm an old pro, but I'm going to try to find this.
Is it the other tab, Assessor's Map?
Yeah,
There you go.
there we go. Now I found it. Okay. So if we look at this, I mean, from a practical point of view, the parcel that we are dealing with is highlighted. And you can see that it really does have a unique shape, unique layout, compared to the other house lots all through the neighborhood. If we look up Power Street, Peter Street, Michael Street, Francis Street, Stephen Street, this really is not only substantially larger, but it does have a unique shape. It has this long stretch of frontage, more than double the required frontage. It has a depth that's really similar to most of the house lots in the area. And so it can easily be divided along the frontage in compliance with zoning. But it has sort of a unique situation where it doesn't quite meet the area requirement, although it fits in with the neighborhood. And so that ties into the presentation I made last time, where one of the sort of goals of zoning is to have some amount of uniformity in a neighborhood and uniformity of uses. So it's not just about area, it's about the shape of the lot, more generally, and it's about fitting in with the neighborhood, and it's about proposing a use that fits in with the neighborhood. There are other potential uses that the diocese and the parish could seek for this land that would comply with residential zoning, that would also be consistent with its mission as a church. So this property could be redeveloped as a cemetery. It could be, excuse me, I'm just trying to find my notes on this point.
That's fine.
It could be used as a cemetery, or the more sort of current kind of concept would be as a columbarium, which is a place where ashes would be interned. It could be used as a group home or as like short-term housing by Catholic Social Services. it could be used for an educational use, but the diocese in the parish, when it looked at it, thought, realistically, what fits in best with the neighborhood would be continued just residential use. And so the concept that they have is if the variance is granted, they would sell the lots similar to what they did across the street, what's shown as lots 51 and 51-01. Those were created a few years ago with the approval of this board. But it would sell the lots for continued single-family residential use, consistent with the neighborhood, and then it would use that as a vehicle to assist with the construction of a new rectory on the same land as the existing church. So the other benefit, when we look at zoning variances, the other thing is whether there's detriment to the public good. There's clearly a benefit to the town if a tax-exempt property is not only comes onto the tax roll, but if two lots could be created, and then the parish could build a new rectory on land that's already tax exempt, that's a clear net gain to the town from that perspective, and the use of this land would still fit in with the neighborhood.
Shane, the internet went off again. I gotta keep watching this. For some reason the internet keeps going down.
Uh, 9269, are you
This
trying to
meeting
speak?
is being recorded.
Yes, my name is Ron Arzing, 33 Kensington Road, resident for almost 50 years now, very familiar with the area. I'm for it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else?
Yes, Jan Meyer. Jan Meyer.
There's a Jan. Can you identify yourself and give your address?
Jan Meyer, 23 Shelley Road. I am in favor of this.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Briscoe?
Yes, 3 Brenda Road. I'm in favor of this proposal.
Okay.
As well as Jean Briscoe at 3 Brenda Street. And
Thank you.
I'm in favor too.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in attendance at the meeting to speak in opposition to the grant of the variances sought here?
You see me?
I don't see anybody raising their hand. If there's anybody you should unmute your microphone and speak up.
Peg Julie, 9 West Main Street.
Yes, Julie?
That area already looks like a monopoly board, and it seems to me that the size lots would certainly fit in perfectly. When was the zoning created that is now the zoning must have been created that we're having a problem with now, after all of those homes in those neighborhoods were built, yes?
Well, zoning was implemented in the 1970s. I don't know when each of the lots was created or built on. That has to do with pre-existing non-conforming use and issues as to each lot. I don't know that offhand, but certainly.
But at the time, they certainly could not have been non-conforming because they're all give or take.
Not sure. Can't guess at when these houses were put there.
Well, I am obviously in favor. It certainly makes sense. A lot of common sense, actually.
Thank you. Is there anybody to speak in opposition to the variances applied for?
Chair, I just want to point out that there is a Jana Daly who's raised her hand to speak, I believe.
You can see raised hands on your screen, Paul?
I can.
Okay, I don't see, I see, there were two screens here. I didn't see that. There are multiple screens of participants, and I did not know that. Go ahead, is it Ms. Daly?
Yes, it is.
And what is your address?
I am at 74 Power Street. I'm actually one of the new houses on the 51 lot, and I am in favor.
Okay. You're noted. I'll ask again, is there anybody to speak in opposition of the variances applied for? And I got to clarify, it's not a vote. We're looking for comments as to why they should be granted, why they should not be granted. So, please don't tally your comments as votes. We have to apply the law to the application and do what we feel is appropriate.
Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of or in opposition to?
Mr. Chairman, Jim Riley, I think you'll see my name as
Yes.
Yeah. So I would also say that I'm a member of the Board of Assessors, but I do not speak on behalf of the Board of Assessors, but as a member of the parish and also the Finance Committee. I would speak in favor of it personally. I would also point out to the board that, as Jana Daly mentioned, she lives across the street. She lives in one of the houses that was created when the church was taken down, and that was separated into two separate lots, which were also undersized lots, similar to what Peg Dooley had mentioned, that the whole neighborhood, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find any lot in that neighborhood that reaches the 40,000 square foot new zoning requirement. But the reason I speak up is I think there is precedent that this particular board has already approved that when those two lots were created and those two houses were granted. So there seems to be a question on whether the board has the authority to do this. There is precedent. The board has already done this and directly in the neighborhood. You can't get any closer to an example of when this was done.
Yes, understood. And in response, I'll say that we consulted counsel on this a few months ago and got a fairly clear response that we were not aware of when those other lots were approved. And further, we've been advised at other times that we are not bound by our prior decisions. If they were in fact incorrect, we can move forward with making legally correct decisions going forward. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on the merits of the application?
William Burgess, 16 Smith Street.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm for this. If you look at the size lots around there, they're all the same size. This is not going to be any small lots around there. And if you're worried about what your lawyer says, he's only practicing law. Let a judge make a decision if it comes to that.
Thank you. Members, do you have questions here or comments specific to these variances?
No, I understand.
Okay. Done. Go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, I see that there's another hand raised by someone, Jim's iPhone.
Yes, Jim Barney, 8 Furnace Pond Way, Norton.
Yes.
And I'm also a parishioner and also a lifetime.
Okay, it's frozen again. Hey, Shane keeps crapping out. It's 7:35, Shane, when this blasted out, so I'm trying to get back in. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, coming back in.
This meeting is being recorded.
Already being established, you know, as much as I wanted to say yes, I'm tending to lead more with town council and let Mr. Costa.
Well, I am as well, because then it will get tested, and if it is legally permissible, will be corrected. I'd be more comfortable with the court saying we are wrong or town council missed something than taking an action that we've been advised we don't have the authority to take, because I think that does set precedent on a broad level for other applicants who come in and say, look, this is a really good idea. And our answer that, well, we can't do that. You know, for example, we can't grant use variances. I could see another applicant coming in saying, well, we really want to change the use of this, you know, to something that's not allowed in the zone, and it's a really popular thing to do. And they'd say, well, you didn't pay attention to your jurisdictional authority before. For that reason, I think I have to vote no on this, though it's not the popular thing to do.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is David.
Yes.
I unfortunately agree with you. I don't see any other options.
Is there a motion then to deny the application for variances for the Archdiocese for 133 South Worcester Street, reserving all their rights to proceed forward as they are entitled to do?
Mr. Chairman, I would make that motion, but don't we normally vote in the positive?
Well, okay. We certainly make the motion in the positive then. That's fine. That's fine.
Oh.
I'll second it.
No motion yet. David? That's okay. David?
My screen literally went blank on me.
We saw you go dark there, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Yeah, so I guess I would make a motion that we approve the variance requested by the Archdiocese.
For the application submitted dated February 13, 2020. Is that your motion?
Yes, that is. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Tenori, is there a second on the formal motion to approve?
So let me just back up because I froze for a minute too. So Dave, your motion is that you're approving the variance?
Well,
yes.
He's making that motion because it is stated in the positive, because there is because there's an application for approval. I'm not sure that that's required, but it's fine. Either way is fine. And then we take a vote and...
Right. I would second that.
Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion on the motion to approve? And a vote in the negative, of course, turns down the variances. With no further discussion, would anybody in favor of the motion of Mr. Wrenn to grant the variance say aye? Actually, we'll do it in the form of a roll call, of course. Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote, aye or nay?
Nay.
And Mr. Tenori, how do you vote?
Nay.
and I vote nay as well. Mr. Costa, the application is denied 3-0, and you are welcome to take this forward as you and your client see fit. I appreciate you coming back to us and filling us in with all the information that you had on this.
All right, yeah, just wanted to give you the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Mr. Chairman, Jim Riley, would I be able to ask a question about the decision?
The decision is done, but go right ahead.
Yeah, so just so I have point of clarification and for the notes, the decision is that this board does not have the jurisdiction to make a decision and that some other board would have that jurisdiction?
No, the decision is simply a negative vote on the motion to approve the variances. So the reasons stated are part of the record. Whether that becomes available and relevant on appeal is another question that I'm not in a position to answer. That would be up to you asking an attorney or town council, obviously.
Okay, no, you were just saying you didn't have the jurisdiction, so that seemed to indicate
that's part of the record. That was our discussion.
Right, okay.
Yep. Okay, thank you all for your participation. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Which I am looking for again. There it is. Got too small a desk and too many papers on it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the property at 15 Hawthorne Road, the applicant, owner Brian and Sue Redmond. Mr. DiGiuseppe, what is the latest on this application?
The applicant has requested an extension. It wasn't to a date certain, but he wanted to be able to physically appear in front of the board. And as you know, at this point, we don't know when that's going to be. So,
right.
But he specifically stated, and you have his email, that he does not want to appear through video conferencing. I'm looking to see if Mr. Redmond is on the call.
Well, we'd have to open the matter for discussion. I was simply asking you as the the clerk of the board what the status was. I don't think we open it otherwise. I have I think we have to address whether that's going to be possible, and council had told us on other matters that we can in fact say we are going to consider this remotely because this is the way meetings are being held now in the Commonwealth. So I think maybe we consult council on that in the next day or two and have her or us reply to Mr. Redmond that we go forward at the next, that we will expect to go forward at the next meeting. And also look for the items that he had been asked for a couple of months ago. Members have anything to add to that?
No, the only thing I would suggest is if he doesn't have the documents we requested from a few months ago, then we shouldn't even move forward anyways. Those were pretty important.
Well, but we have to move forward to do something with the application.
Right, right.
So, okay. I guess maybe we should, is there a motion to open this matter for further discussion?
I'll make the motion to open the matter of 15 Hawthorne Road.
Okay, Mr. Tenori, is there a second? Mr. Wrenn, are you in favor of opening this?
Yes.
Mr. Tenori?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Sorry, I thought this would just be administrative rescheduling, but since we're talking some substance, we probably should do it this way. So we had asked the applicant at maybe it was the February meeting right before the shutdown, to provide some documentation. And I think we have to go back and look at what exactly that was. And there was some discussion of this after the last meeting. I realized that. I will do that in the next day or two and confer with council and with Paul. And from whatever source, from me or from town council or Paul, write a letter to the applicant to tell him that we feel this is something that we are going to take up at the next meeting. Is that the general feeling of the members?
I agree.
I agree as well.
And Paul, does that fit with your understanding of where we are?
Yes.
Okay. So with that said, is there a motion to now continue 15 Hawthorne Road to, is it July 22nd?
Yes.
It's the July 22nd meeting. Why don't we put it at 7 p.m. at the start of the meeting? Is there a motion?
You just said it was a pretty big bag. Fine. I think it's fine. I'm saying anything.
Can I have that as a motion, Mr. Tenori?
I'll second that.
David, did you make a motion to that effect to continue this?
I did not, but I will. I will make a motion to continue the matter of 15 Hawthorne Road to
July 22, 7 p.m.
Yep, 7 p.m.
And Jim?
I figured we'd just keep it consistent. It's easier.
Yeah, no, I thought you were talking, but I think it was your radio.
Yeah, no, I'm turning it up and down.
Jim, that's a second?
Yeah, there's a second, sir.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to be so formal. Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Tenori, how do you vote to continue?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you. This matter's continued to July 22 at 7 p.m. The third item on the agenda is an application for 21 North Lakeview. The applicant owner, Donna Cabral. Ms. Cabral, I think I saw you, you were with us, and there you are.
Yep.
Do you have somebody here with you to speak in favor, to present the application, or are you going to do that, Ms. Cabral?
I'm going to do that.
Okay, thank you. This is an application for 21 North Lakeview. Hold on one second. It is in an R60 zoning area. The application states looking for a variance for side yard setback, frontage, percentage of lot coverage, and lot size. The proposal is for a 780 square foot addition to the existing property. I am assuming that this is a pre-existing non-conforming use, but we'll get there. Ms. Cabral, can you tell us what you are intending to do here?
Yeah, so what we'd like to do is, you know, I've owned the property now for about 15 years, and my family, my son lives there, and my two grandchildren and his partner, and we need more space. So we'd like to add on to the back of the property and create 3 bedrooms and a bath, an extra bath.
Okay.
That's it.
And there's a plan submitted by Trowbridge and Associates, right?
Right.
Okay. And is there anybody here, just to be clear, from Trowbridge tonight?
No.
Okay.
No. Just the family.
Yeah, and to your understanding, the house that you are in now was built prior to the institution of zoning, is that correct?
Yes. It
You
was.
know approximately when it was constructed?
In 1974?
Okay. And members, you have the plan submitted. It shows, just for the record, a current construction sitting 17 feet from North Lakeview Road, 6 feet at the closest point to the, I'll say, southeasterly side yard, and 19 feet to the northerly side yard. The proposed addition would reduce that setback to 13.4 feet, would reduce the first setback by half a foot on the southerly setback side yard side, and would actually increase the square footage. It would more than double the square footage. So we have a couple of variances that may be required. The lot area is 7,992 square feet, so it's an undersized lot in this zoning district for sure. Members, do you have initial questions?
Are you sure about the size of the lot?
Yeah.
It says 7,992 feet, and that's what it says on the plan of record. Do you have a different understanding?
Somehow I have it in my head that it was over 11,000 square feet. It goes back to Rock Lane.
Well, not according to the plan that you submitted, that Trowbridge submitted.
Huh.
Trowbridge should be there.
Chair?
Yes, Paul.
I'm looking at the assessor's map, and it's showing it at 8,750 square feet for that lot.
It is. It sure is.
Yeah, I thought it was I don't know, thinking then.
That's bigger than what Trowbridge has, but it's not the 11,000. Paul, did you pull the assessor's map just as a matter of course?
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
No, did you? It was in our packet, right?
It is, but I can share it on the screen too.
Okay. Well, I printed it out. I can see.
The property goes way back to Rock Lane. It's really long.
I don't see a Rock Lane here on these maps. That's the problem. There may be.
Well, behind.
There may have been a Rock Lane, but it's not pictured here, as you can see.
Jason, is that what is?
Yes, it's.
Sorry, Jason Cabral, are you a son?
I am.
Oh.
Yes,
Okay.
I live here.
Okay, thank you.
With my children. So, directly behind the house, I think it says lot 50 on the screen right now. I think they all say 50. Oh, but no. Okay.
That's a length. That's a distance.
Okay, so directly behind the house where the point is of the end of the lot, that's Rock Lane.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So, basically it's like, we'd be adding on the rear of the house.
Oh, it is. It does say Rock Lane. I can't see it on the screen. I'm sorry. It does it on the.
That's okay.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So it would be adding on to the rear. What was it? 28 feet straight back, following the same lines, and then 30 feet the other way.
Okay. So there's a discrepancy here between the plan submitted in the application, which was done by Trowbridge and dated February 4, 2020, and the assessor's map.
Yeah, we did it right before the COVID happened, and
no, I understand.
Now we just kind of had to wait. So
I'm just pointing it out for the record. Members, obviously we can ask questions, but I'll ask you, Mr. Cabral and Mrs. Cabral, do you want to try to bring those two figures together? Do you want to consult Trowbridge before going forward with this? Because that's another 1,000 square feet. Well, not quite, another 600 square feet, 700 square feet.
So we're not interested in making it any larger than what we.
No.
Yeah, we don't want to change the lot size.
No, that's not what I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
The lot size on your plan that you submitted is smaller than the lot size.
So he must
on the assessor's record. Because lot size and the coverage area of the building is a factor that we have to look at. You're better off going with the assessor's lot size. My question is, do you want to consult with Trowbridge to see if Trowbridge made either an error or overlooked something that, or do you just want to go forward as is with a smaller lot size? as submitted.
Oh, no, I'd rather go with what the assessor said for 8750. If he had made like a clerical mistake, I mean, they were here for a few days with their tripods and stuff.
No, I understand. So we have to go by the submitted plan. It's my view anyway. We have to go by the submitted plan, which states that it's 7,992 square feet. So we'll do that.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, members, do you have questions on this at this point?
I don't have any questions.
Sorry, David?
I do not have any questions.
This is Alan. I do have a question.
Yes.
Are we allowed to grant variances for a percentage of lot coverage?
I believe we are. It's a dimensional variance, it's a dimensional number that is in the table 6.4, whatever it is.
Yeah,
yes. My understanding, Paul.
I have some information on that because I think the addition exceeds it, so I believe they would need to get a variance on the building coverage.
Yes, but Alan, we have the power to do that, and I'm saying yes, I think we do variances for building coverage.
If you just read I was questioning it, reading section 175, 10.3, which is variance requirements.
Yep.
This permits may be granted for variances, including those for side yard setback, frontage dimensions, as well as lot size. It doesn't say lot coverage. That was my only question.
That says lot size?
That's what it says in our bylaw 175, 10.3.
Well, that seems to counter what we were just talking about.
That's what generated my question.
Okay.
Mass General Law, if you read
175, what is it?
10.3, variance requirements.
Thank you. Where use not requiring permit is signed. A literal enforcement of the bylaw would involve substantial hardship. That's just, I see the sentence. Permits may be granted for variances, including those for side yard setback and frontage, as well as lot size. Petitions for variance, yep. My understanding was building coverage is permitted as well. If you feel, if members feel a need to consult counsel on this, we can. I'm not sure how this jives with council's advice as to lot size, although this doesn't say a variance to make it an undersized lot. And perhaps that's discussed in those cases. That's beyond what we can look at right now, of course. Members?
Well, all I can say is I recall numerous matters where we have given variances for coverage.
Yeah, I agree. And it's part of the dimensional table, which is what I said at the outset. Table 6.3, 6.2, I'm sorry. Maximum percentage of lot covered by building, which is 16% in this district. I did the math today. This would raise it to, I think, 18%.
Yeah, I concur.
It's very close at the 8750, right? 14, 16.
Very close.
Yep.
It's 16.7. Yeah.
Oh, is it 16.7 total for the two of them?
Yes, using the 8750. Yes. So the total building would be 1,460 square feet with the addition. And then dividing that by 8750 is 16.7%.
Okay, but divided by the smaller numbers, that 18 something?
Yes.
18.2 is what I got, 18.27, I guess.
So either way, we're looking at a variance.
Yeah, but the initial question is, I think we grant variances on this side. We've done it before.
Definitely remember us doing it before. It just came up with a meeting that I was in, and also just reading through exact variance requirements.
Okay. So there would be first of all, it's a non-conforming use, so we'd have to make a finding under 125E. And then there would be a variance for the side yard setback on one side down to 5.5 feet and down to 13.4 feet as the closest point on the other side, where 25 feet is required for side yard. However, currently it's under 25 feet as it is.
The whole lot is 50 square feet
right
wide, and the house, a 25-foot variance would be disappeared.
Exactly. That's what we're saying. That's what we're looking at.
Right.
So, members, are there any questions of the applicant at this time? Okay. Is there anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in favor of the application as filed? Hearing none, aside from the applicant, of course, and her son. Is there anyone in attendance to speak in opposition to the application as filed? Is there anybody to speak in opposition? For the record, seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
This is David. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on 21 North Lakeview.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote to close the public hearing?
I vote in favor.
Mr. Tenori, how do you vote?
Favor.
I vote in favor as well. Public hearing is closed. Now open for discussion. This is a big addition. It's more than double the size. However, I think it looks completely in keeping with the area. I don't think it offends anybody. There's nobody to oppose this. In my view, I'm comfortable with this. Generally, though we have to get to the specific votes. Mr. Wrenn?
I am generally in favor also. I have no issues.
And Jim, you too?
Same.
Okay. Again, it's a big expansion. It sends it over the percentage, but whether it's the 16%, for lot coverage, but whether it's a fraction of a point or 2 points, I think is pretty negligible for that. And again, it's in keeping with, it looks, other construction in the area, even with using the 7,992 square foot on the lot size. We'll leave it to the applicant and the assessor to work that out. You may want to look into that, Ms. Cabral, because apparently they're taxing you on a larger lot than you may have. But I shouldn't speak against the town's tax office, should I?
Chair, I mean, if this were surveyed, it's probably more accurate than what the assessor's is, because that assessor's data might not have been surveyed for years.
That's what I'm getting at with the applicant. Ms. Cabral may want to bring that to the assessor's attention for tax purposes.
Right.
Okay. So is there a motion for a finding under 175 1.5E that this expansion of this pre-existing non-conforming use, which it appears to be, will not be substantially more detrimental to the area in which it's located in terms of light, noise, the other requirements enumerated in the statute. Is there that motion?
I will make that motion.
Mr. Tenori?
I will second that motion.
Okay. Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote in favor? How do you vote on the motion that the increase in size, as shown on the plan of record, the Trowbridge plan, will not render this use substantially more detrimental to the area as the existing structure and use?
I vote in favor, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Tenori?
A second in favor.
And I vote in favor as well. Then we move on to I think 2 variances. Do you agree? Or wait, 3 variances. Hold on. How do you see it, Dave?
I see 3 variances: lot coverage and the north side.
Yeah. Okay. Is there? We can probably combine the side yards into one. Is there, unless there's a reason not to, is there a motion to grant a variance for the proposed addition such that it shall be no closer than, well, maybe we should do these separately, 6 feet to the southerly most side yard at the northwest corner of the proposed construction, and no closer than 5.5 feet at the southeast corner of the proposed addition, because of the factors at play in terms of the variance by law. Is there that motion, Mr. Wrenn?
I will make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Mr. Tenori? Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote?
Favor.
Mr. Wrenn, Mr. Tenori, how do you vote?
In favor.
I vote in favor as well. This is for the first side yard setback. Let's take them separately. The second one on the northerly most side yard reduces the current side yard from 13 feet to, from 19 feet to 13.4. I note that Trowbridge has noted on the plan a 13-foot minimum. I think, and we didn't discuss this before, we can discuss it now. This may also qualify under the small lot exception, 6.3, which says that a lot with 50 feet of frontage that has been constructed or is to be constructed after zoning, the side yard setback is reduced to a 13-foot minimum. So this is actually 13.4 feet.
Chair?
Yes?
The dimensions for small lot, it is 50 feet of frontage and 5,000 square feet of area.
And this is above that.
Yeah.
Well, but that doesn't that say if you have 50 feet of frontage and more than 5,000? Or is it less than?
It says 50 square feet and 5,000. 50 feet of frontage and 5,000 square feet.
But at least 5,000 square feet or under?
It says and 5,000 square feet. So I would say, not an attorney, I always interpreted that to mean no more than 5,000. Because if it was more than 5,000, that wouldn't be a small lot at that point.
Got it. Okay, well, we can leave, yeah, you're right. And we can leave that to the side, of course, because if we vote the variance from the 25-foot setback anyway, that'll cover it. Is there a motion then to grant a variance from the current 19-foot side yard setback to 13 feet 4 inches as shown on the plan of record?
Mr. Chairman, this is David. I will make that motion.
Mr. Tenori, is there a second?
A second.
All right, I need a roll call vote. Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote? Aye or nay?
I vote aye.
Mr. Tenori?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Next is the reduction in lot coverage, which is 16% in this zone according to the table 6.2. As we discussed before, using the smaller square footage would result in a coverage of 18.27% approximately. To me, that's negligible. We've discussed that. Mr. Wrenn, is there a motion for a variance in the lot coverage provision from maximum 16% to approximately 18.27% as shown by the plan?
Mr. Chairman, I will make that motion.
Mr. Tenori?
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote on that motion, aye or nay?
Aye.
Mr. Tenori?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Does that take care of this? I think it does.
I think it does.
Okay. We will render a written decision within 2 weeks, Ms. Cabral, and you can go from there. It has to be posted in Town Hall, and you can go from there. All right. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
We'll
Good luck to you.
explain the process after. Yeah.
Sorry, Paul?
I was just saying we'll explain to Ms. Cabral once that's approved. You know, we have to go through the appeal process and all that, so we'll take care of it.
There's an appeal process after it's posted, and then after the appeal process runs out, if no appeal is filed, you can go forward from there.
Yeah, it's 20 days. Okay. We'll talk to you more about that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you to Mrs. and to Mr. Cabral as well. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, can Alan take over for me? I gotta go.
Yes. Mr. Tenori obviously needs to be excused from the meeting. Let the record reflect 8:13. Thank you, Jim.
I apologize. Sorry.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
I got you, Jim.
All right, thank you.
For the record, Mr. Tenori had to leave the meeting. Mr. Bouley is present still, I see, and although he is camera-less, we have to get him a camera so we can...
My children broke it. I apologize.
Yeah, sure. We don't believe that it's broken. We think you disabled it.
I will have one next meeting.
Okay, we'll hold you to that. All right, let's go on to the next application. Actually, it's an application for 157 Mansfield Ave, the Norton Mobile Home Park. Mr. Di Giuseppe, is this administrative request?
Right, they've asked for a continuance to the July meeting.
July 22?
July 22nd.
Yep, and we had not opened this. We just received, this is a new application, right?
This is brand new, yes.
Yep. So we don't have to open anything. We can just discuss that. Is there a motion to continue the application for 157 Mansfield Ave, which is the Norton Mobile Home Park? There are materials in the file, which I looked at briefly. There's a letter from building inspector there, and but the applicant has asked for continuance. There's no problem with timing, of course, continuing this to the July 22 meeting. Is there a motion to do so?
This is David. I'll make a motion to continue the meeting to the matter of 157 Mansfield Ave to July 22nd, 2020.
Say at 7:05?
7:05, yes.
Okay.
This is Alan. I second it.
Great. No further discussion. Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bouley, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, next, the remaining squares on the Hollywood Squares pegboard will be glad. We're finally getting to 12 South Highland Road.
Tom, excuse me, it's Nicole.
Yes.
Sorry, how do I mark Jim on that? Do I just recuse him or absent or?
Well, the minutes will just mark him that he left. It was 8:13. I happened to look at my clock. So he was in on the first two decisions, and this will be, Mr. Bouley is appointed as the alternate to sit in as the third voting member.
So in roll call, he won't show up?
Right, correct.
Thank you.
In the minutes, we'll just record that he had to leave the meeting for professional reasons, and that Mr. Bouley was appointed as the next voting member. So, right, for the votes, it will just be Alan, David, and me going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sure. The applicant is here. I see a John and Amy Call. That is the applicant? Are
Good
you
evening, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
Fine. Are you here to present the meeting tonight, or do you have assistance by an engineer or anybody else?
I have assistance with an engineer, Craig, from RAM Engineering. I also have Tom DePlacido from Tom DePlacido Builders with us as well.
Oh, I see, Mr. Siganowski.
Yeah, how you doing?
And Mr. DePlacido. Yes, and here by telephone. Thank you. Can you just briefly tell us what it is you're trying to do here? We have, just for the record, I have to find that in my pile of paper. We have two plans. One was submitted but then amended because of original error, and note that we have both in the application file. So go ahead, Mr. Siganowski, are you speaking for the applicant?
Yes, RIM Engineering, 12 Pratt Street in Mansfield. Yeah, the neighbor, Bruce, I believe pronounced Nuku, pointed out that back many years ago, a 2-foot strip was sold from this property to their land along the northerly property line, which abuts the existing detached garage. So the old plan would have shown distances of 2.5 feet from the garage to the property line. Due to the sale of that strip, it's now 0.5. So it reduces the lot size from 13,000 something down to 12,934.
Is that noted on the revised plan?
Yes. So the existing house is built in 1940, a single story on the reservoir. By today's zoning, it's a non-conforming lot. They're in the R60 zone, so they need 60,000 square feet. We're at 12,009. The hardship on this property is that we abut the reservoir to the rear of the property or to the west property line. And the bordering vegetated wetlands that comes off the reservoir runs up along what would be, looking at the plan, the right-hand side, which is on Town of Norton property. And due to the buffer zones of the wetlands bylaw, as you can see, the house is very close to the 25-foot buffer zone that conservation requires. We're in the process now of putting together a plan to file with conservation probably within the next week. Obviously, having your decision tonight will affect how we design the plan. So we're get this approved and then submit to conservation.
And what is it that conservation has to pass on?
Well, we're within the 100 feet of the reservoir and the bordering vegetated wetlands. The rear property line also has the floodplain along the reservoir, though we're not doing anything with the floodplain.
Technically, you can build outside the 25-foot.
Right, with permission, we can build within the 100 feet. We just need to file with conservation to get their approval.
Yep. Okay. So you're here first.
So the existing house. There's a detail in the upper right corner is 1,600 square feet. Then there's a small detached garage, which is a little over 500. So when you add that up, the existing buildings are 2,125 square feet. The proposed house, which has an attached garage, is 2,177 square feet. So the proposed building is 52 square feet larger than the existing.
Right.
We are, the existing building, again, built in 1940. There was no zoning in the area, and it's the reservoir. They were small houses. And it was built, there's I think a bulkhead off the front of the house, which is about half a foot back from the road line.
Yeah.
So we're proposing to put our house, in order to stay out of the buffer zone, the 25-foot buffer zone, 6.7 feet from the road. Obviously less than the required 35 feet. So we're asking for a variance for that. And then on the sides of the property, the existing house is at 16.3, and we're asking to go to 19.9 on the, what would be the southerly side of the property, looking at the plan, the right-hand property line. And then due to the 2 foot that was removed from the property by prior purchase, we had the house, the proposed house, at 25.5. It's now at 23.5, so that is also under the 25 feet. The rear property line, we do meet the required 15-foot setback. We're at 32.9 feet. due to the increase in the building, we are presently the lot coverage is required. The maximum is 16%. The existing house is at 16.13, and the proposed house is 16.52. So the three variances we're asking for: front yard setback, the side yard setback on both sides, and then lot coverage, similar to the last property you discussed with the Cabrals.
Why do we have two of the multi-variance types in one meeting, huh?
Yep.
These votes get exhausting.
Sorry about that. These small lots at the reservoir create these issues.
We see it a lot.
Yeah.
So it's hard I had to work on this today to outline, not any criticism of the drawing, of course, my untrained eyes, to outline where the existing house is now and where the proposed house is.
Yeah.
The proposed house in much easier fashion, but the existing house is right on that's the road line, right? I mean, you said...
there's a bulkhead that comes out, there's a bay window, and under the bay window is that rectangle. That's, I believe it's a bulkhead to enter, though I don't believe there's a full basement. Crawl space, I assume.
Right.
And so the dash line where it says proposed driveway, that's the part of the existing house.
Yeah. And the existing driveway, by the way, I tried to look at this on Google. You can't see it from the aerial view. It seems to be covered with the bushes. There's a blue, is your roof blue, Mr. Cole?
This house has had a blue tarp on it. It's not my house, but the house currently has a blue tarp that's been on the roof for over 5 years. It's got extensive mold damage and is in really rough shape. We currently live at 14 South Lakeview, which is actually about 50 feet west of the current property now. So we're familiar with the area. We've been in Norton since 2009 as residents, and love the location, love all our neighbors. We're looking for a bigger house because we have 2 young daughters, and we're currently in a 3-bedroom house, so we're looking for a little bit more size. And this opportunity presented itself so that we could check all the boxes that we wanted in a new home. So.
Understood. Are you saying you have a budding neighbor now?
Yes. Yep.
Which property do you own? It's hard to point out.
Yeah, if you're on Google Maps at 14 South Lakeview, so if you zoom out and you see where the town of Norton has a field, we're directly west. So it'd be towards the bottom of your screen if you scroll down. It's hard to point out, but 14 South Lakeview. So right across that field there that you're looking at.
Okay, is it a direct abutting?
No, sir, it's not. No.
Okay. Questions, board members?
This is Alan. My question is, if they're putting up, are they going to need a variance also for frontage?
Frontage is what, on the east? Is the existing gravel drive? No.
You mean
that's South Highland Road, right?
Yeah, it's unpaved, sir. It's just a gravel road. There's just 2 houses on that road.
When you say frontage, you mean lot frontage or front setback? It's an undersized lot, so we don't meet the 150 feet. We have 160 plus 51, so 112 feet of frontage, more or less, but it's pre-existing non-conforming.
So that's covered in our decision under the non-conforming lot.
The Hawthorne is, right, okay, there you go.
Thank you.
So where is the frontage here? Well, you can't point it out, can you?
Near the white fence, if you look at, would be on the bottom of your screen, which I guess technically would be north, magnetically, yeah.
Yeah, north is to the right. Yeah, that white fence below is right at the property.
That's not, I can't keep track of where we're going here.
So
it's changing.
Oh, I see the road, yeah. It's not to the right.
Yes, sir. There's a white fence underneath the blue line you can barely make out, yeah.
And this is now oriented as your drawing is that right?
More or less.
More or less, okay.
Yeah, this is facing due north.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Other questions, members? Nope.
No, I don't think I got any.
Okay.
The garage is staying, I assume? The existing garage?
No, sir, that's gonna be torn down, so, and Craig can speak on this, but I think that's gonna give more of a setback to the one neighbor that we have.
Right.
Yeah, it's got vines and trees growing all the way through the garage. It's in pretty rough shape.
It also,
So, yeah,
it wasn't
torn down.
It wasn't clear when I was looking at it whether it was over the property line.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, where it says existing garage in the drawing, that'll be completely eliminated. That whole side of the house is proposed as grass.
Yeah. Okay.
So the proposed is 23.5 because you're getting rid of the garage. So.
Right. Correct.
Gotcha.
Okay. Let me ask if there's anybody in attendance to speak in favor of the application as submitted, and the plan of record being the plan of Wrenn Engineering dated June 11, 2020?
May
11th, search 2020.
Well,
oh, correct. My apologies.
It's the June 11 that we're going with, right? Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Is there anybody to speak in favor of the application? Anybody in attendance? Seeing none for the record, is there anybody to speak in opposition to the application and the plan as filed? For the record, none. Mr. Tenori has rejoined the conversation. We're going to
listen for this part because I missed the first half.
Yeah, well, Alan is going to continue on as the voting member here, right? Because Jim was not here for the discussion. It was very lively. Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing? David?
I make that motion.
Alan?
Alan makes that motion, correct.
Sorry, David?
I will second that motion.
Okay. Are you in favor of closing the public hearing, Mr. Bouley?
Yes.
Are you in favor, Mr. Wrenn?
I am.
I am in favor as well. Okay, so we are on for discussion. I'll entertain motions at any time. Help me out with the motions, David or Alan.
Just for clarification, are we going to do two separate motions for the side yard setbacks, or do it in one?
Yeah, it's easier to describe it in two separate ones, I guess, because I tried the last time. It just gets a little complicated. It doesn't really matter. It's just easier to take them separately. I suppose there could be separate considerations, though none of us have spoken up about any of them, so I guess separately. First, though, this is a pre-existing non-conforming again. So under the statute, is there a motion for a finding that the proposed use, which is shown on the plan of June 11, will not be substantially more detrimental to the area in terms of light, noise, safety, the other factors enumerated in the statute, than what is existing on the property now? Is there that motion?
Well said, and I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Discussion, I think it's better than what is there now. Obviously, also hearing the state of apparent disrepair at the existing premises, I don't think there's any question about that. Do you agree, members?
I agree.
Okay. Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote?
I vote in favor.
Mr. Bouley?
Yes.
And I, for myself as well, as to the pre-existing non-conforming finding. Next up, can we move on to the, why don't we do the lot coverage area determination first for a variance? Is there a motion that the proposal, which would increase the size of the building by how many square feet? 50 something? I didn't do the math on paper for the percentage.
52 square feet.
Okay, thank you. And I see it's on the amended
52.
amended plan. It's shown as 16.52% lot coverage as opposed to the required 16. Is there a motion for a variance for the variance as to lot coverage to no more than 16.52 plus or minus as shown on the plan of record?
This is David. I'll make that motion.
Mr. Bouley, is there
Second.
Okay. Open for discussion. I find that to be negligible as a deviation over the 16%. You agree?
Agree.
Agreed.
Okay. So, Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote on that variance?
I vote in favor.
Mr. Bouley?
Yes.
And myself, aye. Next, the side yards. You're not going to help me out, huh?
I'd make a motion to,
Well,
I'm not sure what side it is.
you know, do we need a motion for the southerly side? The existing is 16 and 3 inches. The proposed is 19, right? So it's within the pocket. Well, yeah, I think council had said before we should still vote on it, just to.
25 being the measurement.
Sorry?
25 being the setback.
Yes, right. This is broadening the setback. It's less of a setback infringement than existing. That's my point. But I guess we should vote on the variance for this as well. For the southerly side yard setback, is there a motion that the proposed construction, as shown on the plan of record of June 11, shall not be closer than 19.9? Is that 0.9 feet or 19.9 inches?
19.9 feet.
Thank you. 19.9 feet on the southerly side yard setback.
Mrs. Allen, I'll make that motion.
Mr. Bouley?
I will make that motion.
I'm sorry. Mr. Wrenn, second?
I will second that motion.
All right. Mr. Bouley, how do you vote on that variance request?
Yes.
Mr. Wrenn?
I'm in favor.
And Mr. Noel is in favor as well. Then to the, can we call it the northerly side yard setback? Again, 25 is required. Existing is a ridiculous 6 inches at this point, although that's the detached garage. Still, the proposed is only to 23.5 feet. Is there a motion for a variance for side yard setback on the northerly side of the premises, a reduction from 25 feet to 23.5 feet, as shown on the plan of record of June 11?
This is Allen, I will make that motion.
And David will second it.
Great. Mr. Bouley, how do you vote? Any discussion on that? I think this is a given as well.
Making it much better, so I vote yes.
Yes, agreed. And this was for demolition of the existing structures, so that existing garage will be demolished in the process. That's part of our discussion in this. So, I'm sorry, Mr. Wrenn, are you in favor of that motion for this variance?
I'm in favor.
Mr. Bouley?
Yes.
And Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Is that all the votes we need, I hope?
Do we need to make one for the front?
Read the issue again, David. Show me what you're talking about again. I didn't follow.
Yeah, I was just looking at the front of the house, proposed garage, and then we got...
The front being the top of the plan, the easterly side?
Yes, the top of the plan.
Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm looking at... So the existing setback from the road is 0.5.
Right.
And now the proposed is 6.7.
And that is the access, is that right? The existing gravel drive at the easterly side is the access road?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Right, the driveway connects to that. It's tough to see again looking at the map.
Yeah.
Vision. You're right. I think you're right. I think we do need a variance there as well.
Because I believe it or not, this is what, now 40?
40, correct.
Yeah, or is it 40? 60?
40. R6 is 40.
Yeah, so it should be front setting feet, yeah.
Yep. So is there a motion for a variance? The front yard setback from the road being the existing gravel drive as shown on the plan of record, being on the easterly side of the proposed construction, a reduction from 40 feet to 6.7 feet as shown on the plan.
This is Alan, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Mr. Wrenn?
I will second that motion.
Okay. Discussion on this, obviously that's a very drastic reduction, but given what is there now and given the area that it's in and the other constraints, I don't think it's unreasonable. It makes it better than what we have there now.
Agreed.
I agree.
Any further discussion on that?
Nope.
We sometimes look at percentages on these, and say, well, that's too high a percentage, but in this case, what's there now is, again, 0.5 feet, 6 inches away. So I think other than saying, the owner can't do anything here, I think it's in line for a pass of that variance. Okay.
Yeah. I guess I'm just kind of curious, but it's an existing gravel drive, and it seems like, so it's 0.5 from, I guess, the legal boundary to the road. And so in reality, the railroad is not anywhere, it's not close to that point. I suppose you run the risk of down the road, if the town was to pave this, I guess they would pave closer, perhaps.
Well, they would
widen the road, in other words.
They would go to the road line, right, only? Although there are rules about what the town owns and is entitled to do, but then again, the town isn't going to come and say, tear down your house so we can, expand 15 feet from the center line.
Yeah, no, I mean, either way, the house would stay. It was just my only point is that it would just be, the road could come closer down in the future.
But our job is to say what it can be built, where it can be built in relation to the plan, so that's why we're going by that. Do you agree?
I agree. It's more of a point of interest.
Yeah, I'm with you. Existing gravel drive, is that even a town road? Do we know that? I assume it is. I assume it has to be. Okay, so, sorry, was there a motion already on this?
Tom, you made the motion, Mr. Chairman, so I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of that motion? Sorry, Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote?
I'm in favor.
Mr. Bouley, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I record my vote as yes as well. Does that cover us? I think it does.
So,
okay. We will try to get the decision written up in a way that makes sense. And it'll be posted, and as Paul said, for the last applicant, it'll be posted, and then abutters, obviously interested parties can object, but beyond the appeal period, you're all set. And good luck with this.
Yes, sir. Thank you all very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Little. Thank you, and sorry we're at 8:40.
No problem at all. These things take time. A little slower over video, I'm sure.
It's a little, keeping track of everything's a little.
Right, understood.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you.
We're not done. Or are we? Okay, we are into general business. What do we have, Paul?
Well, the big thing, coming up obviously are the two 40B projects. So one of the things I'd like to get from you tonight is to, would be to add another meeting, a week or two of your July 22nd after, late July, early August, because you don't want to have two 40Bs in the same night, especially with the intro. So, being introduced to it. So
I agree. What state are the 40Bs in?
Well, we had a Zoom meeting with both applicants a week ago, and I expect the project from 195 Mansfield to be coming in within the next week or two, and then 2 to 3 weeks we should be getting 253 Mansfield. Keep in mind, we have a 30-day requirement from the time we receive an application to have the public hearing. I mean, we can always ask for a waiver, but I just figured let's get those two, that extra meeting set. So if 195 comes in within the next week, we'll be within the 30-day window by July 22nd.
Yeah.
And then 253 had a little bit more work to do. So I know Alan and Jim had stated, well, Alan had flexibility. I had sent that email out. And Jim, I need to go back to yours. You're available July 29th.
Yeah, that first week of August, I'm going to be down the Cape, and I'm at Bourne Scenic Park, so I don't think I'm going to have much cell service there.
So, yeah, if you all were able to add a meeting for July 29th.
Yeah, that's just a week after the 22nd. I mean, it's probably smart to do. We can always push it off till second week of August, if the application is delayed or we otherwise want to.
Yeah. Well, and if I get that, then I can get back to the applicant and say they've set a date for July 29th. So, in addition, we have to still notice. We still have to meet the noticing requirements, get it in the paper 2 weeks before, and of course that means really closer to 3 weeks that we have to get the notice done. So,
is the first application even going to make it in time for the 22nd?
They're telling us it's coming, so we have to take them at their word. And I expect it'll come in next week, but we'll see. So,
well, if it doesn't, we could take them on the 29th, and
right, you can shift it around.
Okay.
Yeah.
I said a couple things at the last meeting that I didn't follow up on. I got incredibly tied up right after it. Believe it or not, you'd think I wasn't busy in COVID crisis, but things are kind of nuts right now. But I need to follow up on, and you guys need to prompt me and Paul, following up on 15 Hawthorne to get some communication and to get, to state early on that, look, we plan to take this up. So maybe that comes from Amy, I don't know. But Amy was pretty clear that we have the right to do that, even though we are meeting remotely.
Right. Right.
And we're just talking scheduling here, of course. But.
Right. So again, if you all are able to schedule for July 29th and realize when we know Jim might not be available, and obviously when you're talking about the intro, you all need to be there for it.
Yeah, and Jim's around on the 29th, right, Jim?
Yeah, it's just that week of August. I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like everybody to be available for the introductions. These things go on most likely for months. Not necessarily at every meeting either, because if they go back out to do a whole new set of plans, sometimes it takes a couple months for you to come back. But it helps to have everybody loaded and ready to go. Certainly. So, okay.
We can add the 29th then.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So then the other aspect of this too is we were able to get a 40B peer reviewer from Mass Housing Partnership, and it's Judy Barrett, who actually wrote the 40B handbook. So we are, so she's going to be with us through the whole process. But if you recall from an email, we're trying to set up a a Zoom initial training for you all.
Oh, yeah.
And it's basically going to be a 40B 101, but it's specifically geared toward the ZBA. So,
do we have available dates for that, or what are you asking?
He hasn't gotten back with me yet.
Okay.
We'll get her, we're working through Mass Housing Partnership to get her under contract. Mass Housing Partnership was kind enough to initiate earlier than they would, because we are in the process of, you saw the application, but we can't formally submit it until we get the first application in. But they're working to do an initial contract with Judy to start the training, because we really want to try to get that training in before your first public hearing.
So it'll involve what, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours?
I don't know, I haven't had the pleasure.
I mean,
I'm thinking it's before, I'm trying to do it so we can do it before July 22nd.
Right.
If possible. I mean, I realize we're getting into holiday season. Well, where are we all going anyway?
Well,
you were staining a deck on your holiday.
No, I'm actually trying to get away for a few days next week, but I don't know if we'll do it, or, I mean, I'll have my computer anyway.
Yeah, we need to see when she's available, so.
It's a lot to ask members. I know it's summertime and it's nice, but it would be great. It's obviously optional. It would be great if we could join in, even if it's just for an hour. And obviously, if people need to go, they can.
Yeah.
I hate to schedule another thing, but I think it's a good idea, Paul.
They had mentioned when I was seeking getting them to give us to get a consultant, they said we haven't had training since the early 2000s. So, and Tom, you're the only one who's really gone through and I haven't.
Jim.
A lot of our staff haven't.
I think Jim did, right, Jim? Didn't you go through 40B, most of a 40B?
I went through some of it, a little bit.
Okay. Well, for Alan and David.
One over on
274?
Yeah, that was the one over on Bass after a little bit.
Yeah. So anyway, it was, we were eligible for it, so why not take advantage of it?
Yeah. And things have changed. Things have changed, so I'm not at all, I certainly want it for myself too.
Yeah, and she will be here at meetings. She'll go through all of that, but she will be there. It's not a one-time deal. It'll be throughout the process. She'll also be advising us on peer review needs.
Yes, right.
It's going to go beyond the usual stormwater and traffic. Well, you all don't typically see that, but planning board, when you get a site plan or subdivision, you'll usually submit a peer review for stormwater and wetlands. So, but there will be more things here, and I'm not entirely clear. So I hope I can talk to Judy beforehand to get an idea of that.
Well, see what you can do and keep us informed by email.
Yeah. Will do.
Paul, if we're all on a training together on a Zoom call, does that give us quorum? So we'd have to.
We'd post it. We'd have to post it as a public meeting.
Well,
I think. You have a quorum.
It sounds good, but I don't remember what we did before. There were seminars years ago. I don't know. I guess we probably. I don't know. Well, we could ask. We could find out.
It's a great question.
Okay. Anything else on that, in that area?
I don't think so.
Do we have, we don't have any minutes this time, right?
I'm going to leave that to Nicole.
Kuneon, are you there?
Kuneon, yeah, she's here. No, I didn't have any. With everything getting back, honestly, I just forgot to finish them up. So I'll have this meeting and last one on for your next meeting, okay?
Yeah, just you can email them to us.
Yep.
That'd be great. Okay.
You got it.
Or CU Neon, it says. Is that the way it's supposed to be pronounced?
It's my maiden last name, so it's Cuneo, and then they put my first initial at the end for some reason, so it's Cuneo N.
but it works as CU neon too. I think that's kind of neat.
I guess, I can be that too.
Sounds like a good Twitter handle. See you later. See you neon. All right. There's nothing else at this time, correct, Paul?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Jim, I can't believe that you do it while you're on the job.
It's not easy. We were just about to arrest somebody, so I had to go.
It's good that it wasn't one of us.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, looking out my window, I was like, oh shit, here he comes.
Right outside your window.
One here, lights and sirens.
When you can see Jim on the screen, but you also hear him out of your free ear, like outside your house, then it's time to worry.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go, guys.
Jim, can I have a question? It's just a procedural question regarding the Zoom. So I can only see when someone's talking. Is that what everybody else can see?
So David, you actually have some view options if you scroll to the upper portion of the screen.
Upper right, I think.
Upper right.
Yeah.
So you can do speaker view, you can do gallery. You want to do gallery view.
It's funny. I normally see that. For some reason, I'm not seeing that here. I don't know why.
Okay, here, something happened to me during mid-meeting. In fact, right before the meeting started, I signed off and came back because my Zoom filled the whole screen. The top border and the bottom border was gone, and I didn't do anything to do that. So Dave, something might have happened to you like that just now. It held for me during the meeting, but if you're only seeing black at the borders, right? Top and bottom?
Yeah.
Right. That happened to me. I don't know why. Because I can see at the top right, speaker view, and when I click that, you're large now, you're huge, and the other people are just in a strip, like a film strip across the top. And then if I go to gallery view, I see them like the Hollywood Squares.
Yeah, and usually typically, I called in from work tonight.
I don't know.
At home, I usually see that, but it's kind of weird.
I'm just suggesting that Zoom changed my screen. Maybe it changed your screen and to take out the borders. I don't know how to get that back, except that I signed off briefly.
That's all right. I was just curious.
And I see Peter Wiggins is here, so we can expect to be in the report. Hi, Peter.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing?
Doing good. I was at the marijuana hearing, and then I went over to the virtual churches, and I came to this meeting.
Well, the other meetings were probably more interesting.
Yep.
You don't have to agree.
All right. Motion to adjourn at 8:54.
It's David, I'll make that motion.
Alan, I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Wrenn, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bouley, how do you vote?
I'm going to say yes.
Mr. Tenore, you're back. You can tip this over in the majority. How do you vote?
Yes.
It's unanimous. We adjourned. Thank you.